just watched Event Horizon for the first time, and it was one that's been on my radar for a really long time because it's science fiction silliness, really. It just keeps appearing on these lists of the movies that you gotta watch if you like science fiction silliness, essentially. You know, films like Alien and films like whatever. And my basic conclusion, I have two basic conclusions. One, how come Lawrence Fishburne is so slim? And two, I think that I'd really like to be buddies with Sam Neill. I don't feel like Sam Neill and I have the same ideas about what makes a good story, but at the same time, all of the projects that he's involved in are things that I think would excite my imagination, and if they were offered to me as something to do with my time, I'd probably jump at them. I mean, he seems like a good actor, and yet almost everything that he's in kind of comes across as this B-list, campy, like, let's just have fun and not make literature kind of projects. Like, it's bad enough that he was Merlin in that made-for-TV series Merlin, but I learned recently that there was a sequel to it, which I'm going to watch, because why not? And he just looks like he's having fun. I'm not sure if it's justifiable for me to say that Event Horizon is a good representation of science fiction horror, like compared to the other examples, compared to other examples of science fiction horror, because I don't really absorb that genre very much. I don't absorb the horror genre very much. Aside from Alien, I haven't really watched very many science fiction horror films. That said, taken as kind of a piece of cinema without comparing it to other pieces of cinema, this is a well-designed film. And I was really shocked because for some reason I feel like I've always heard that it was just the kind of film that you watch and kind of laugh at. And I did feel like it was a little silly. It's very over the top. It's very unrealistic in some ways. There are certain scenes that are clearly in there just to sort of like appeal to the splatter fest aficionados around, and they were more excited about giving us an example of some over the top film more than trying to give us a realistic, like, science fiction movie. But, you know, I'm not really the realistic movies I've watched are kind of boring. That's kind of a terrible thing to say, but like, realism doesn't necessarily equate to good filmmaking. That's not a brilliant thing to say. My brilliant thing to say about this movie is how silly it was that the conventional horror tropes got celebrated and intentionally turned on their head, because we had two black guys and both of them were funny. Well, that's not actually true. Lawrence Fishburne wasn't funny, but the funny black guy was one of the ones that survived at the end. And you know how that's like a science, or not a science fiction, but a horror like thing. The funny black guy is the first guy to die. They cheated, you know, they gave us two black guys, horror film, they gave us a blonde, they gave us a brunette, they gave us a mother, they gave us a funny guy, they gave us a crazy guy, they gave us a smart guy, they gave us an overprepared guy, and the order that they got killed in was hilarious. It didn't make me laugh, but it does make me think that the guys who wrote this script thought to themselves, we need to make sure that the black guy survives, especially if he's cracking jokes as an in-joke for everybody else. Really, if you're going to watch this film for any reason, watch it for the reason that it turns that particular trope on its head in a funny way. Of course, the blonde survives. I don't know. I was impressed with the design. I really was. I was impressed with the lighting. The acting was better than I expected. I'm confused. And I'm confused because Event Horizon is a film that has been sold to me as an example of poor filmmaking. And now I'm wondering where I heard that. Anyway. I tweeted, and I think this exemplifies my tweet. I tweeted this before I'd gotten very far into it, and I kind of intended to sort of like tweet all the way through and sort of like record my thoughts as I was watching this movie. But I got interrupted, and so I tweeted once early on, and then didn't, and then came back and watched the rest of the film later. And the tweet that I gave was, Event Horizon is like a movie that's trying to be a higher concept, scarier version of Alien. And that the key word in that review is trying. And I stand by that, having finished the movie. That said, it was still fun. But it's a movie that leaves me wishing that the bad guys had won. They built up this idea and didn't pay it off. Because in order to pay it off, the bad guys would have to win. And usually, a movie doesn't leave you feeling like you want the bad guy to win. But something about this movie really made me go, I really want to see what the bad guy is trying to do. Also, Lawrence Fishburne is slim, and that's weird.